Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make something that so many people just buy a box mix because they think it's way too hard to make it themselves. I'm about to show you just how easy it is to make homemade angel food cake on this Homestead kitchen skills. Hey friends, this is Angela from Art of Creation Homestead again. And you are in the kitchen with me for another Homestead kitchen skills. Just like I told you, I'm going to show you how to make homemade angel food cake. It's one of those things that probably a lot of us grew up with our moms or grandmas making them, but they just made them from a box mix. I'm about to show you it's super easy to make them at home from scratch with stuff you probably already have in the house. There's a few little tricks of the trade that will make them perfect every time, and I'm going to show you those little tricks. First, you want to start out and you want to preheat your oven to 325 degrees. You want to keep it low and slow. Don't crank your oven up too high, low and slow, 325. You also want to set your oven rack to about the middle rack. You do not want it on the bottom because that's too much heat. You want it to be moderate so that it browns perfectly without burning. Now, you also want your eggs set out at around room temperature because they will separate much easier if they're room temperature, and they will beat up better and faster if they are room temperature. So you want a dozen eggs set out at room temperature because you want a dozen egg whites. You want 12 egg whites. Now, on this piece of wax paper, I have 1 cup of all-purpose flour measured out, and then I have half of our sugar, which is 3/4 of a cup. Then over here, we have the secret ingredient. This is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and it helps stabilize it. That's the key with making a good angel food cake. It has to be stable. And there's a few tricks of the trade here that I'm going to show you about how to make this a more stable cake, because you got to stabilize those egg whites. Now I'm going to use my wax paper, and I'm just going to bring it in and mix everything together. I'm going to use my spoon and just mix your sugar in with your flour and your cornstarch. Just mix all of that together. Your sugar will work as an abrasive to break up any lumps in the cornstarch or in the flour. So you just want to mix it all together. I'm even going to get my hands in there. For those of you who haven't been with me for long or are new, welcome, by the way, if you are new to us. I always use, when I am going to use a stand mixer, which I'm going to use a stand mixer for this, I always use wax paper to put my dry ingredients on because it works as a funnel to help me funnel in my dry ingredients into my mixing bowl. So now we're all mixed together and everything's all light and fluffy now. Everything's beautiful, light, and fluffy. And that's what you want. You want it to be light and fluffy. Now you will put that to the side. As I told you, I am going to be using a stand mixer. I am using a KitchenAid. You can use whatever stand mixer you have, or if you don't have a stand mixer, you can use a hand mixer. I just really wouldn't recommend doing this by hand unless you want a good arm workout. If you are using a stand mixer, then use the whip attachment, not the paddle attachment. You will get much fluffier egg whites if you use the whip attachment. Okay, in this bowl we have 12 egg whites at room temperature, and to that 12 egg whites we are going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and we are going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I would kind of recommend the pure stuff with this because that's your flavoring. And you're going to get much better flavor out of the pure stuff. But if all you have is the imitation, that's fine. And as you can see, those are roughly measured. You guys know I don't measure vanilla. Now you want to whip this until it starts to become frothy. That's as far as you want to take it at this minute. That's as far as you want to take it. It's just until it becomes frothy. You want to whip this on about medium speed. Now, as you can see, it's all nice and frothy. So now we're going to add a very key ingredient. This is your stabilizer. This is what is going to help make your egg whites stable and your cake right. This is a little ingredient called cream of tartar. You will find it in your spice aisle, and it lasts for years. So you don't have to worry about it, because anytime you use anything with meringues, put meringues on your pie, to make angel food cake like I'm doing here, to make meringue cookies, anything like that, you need cream of tartar to stabilize your egg whites. And for this cake, you need 1.5 teaspoons of cream of tartar. You can do it without the cream of tartar, but I'm not real sure how well it will turn out, because your egg whites will not get stable enough to get stiff enough to withstand the folding and all of that. So now you want to whip this on medium to high speed until you get stiff, glossy peaks. And I'll show you what that looks like when we're there. Now that only took about 3 to 4 minutes. And as you can see, they're very glossy, and you can see that peak right there. See, it's sticking straight up. That's what you want. Now we are going to add the remaining 3/4 cup of our sugar to this mixture, but we are going to only add it 1/4 cup at a time. This is another one of those keys that helps keep it stable. You want to turn your mixer on low, and you want to add in 1/4 cup of sugar very slowly. Now once you get that entire cup dumped, that entire 1/4 cup dumped in, you want to raise your speed. Once that 1/4 cup is all incorporated, turn it back down to low and start with your second 1/4 cup. And just slowly pour it in. Until you've got it all in. And then you repeat the same process with your last 1/4 cup, which will make it 3/4 cup. Once you get your whole 3/4 cup of sugar in, you want to turn your mixer up on medium high to high and let it whip until you get back to that stiff point. As you can see, we've got nice stiff peaks. When you go like this and you pull up, see you got that nice peak. See that you got that nice peak standing up right there, and you got that nice peak that is standing on your whip. And also, there's another test. Let me get all the egg white off my whip. If it's done right, you should be able to do this. And see, nothing's falling out. So you know it's right. Now, here's another little trick for you. We're about to fold in that flour, sugar, cornstarch mixture. I am using a silicone spatula. You want to make sure that there is no remaining oil or anything, any residue of any sort on the spatula. Any oil of any sort will deflate your egg whites. You do not want that. Even though they are very stable at this point, because of the things we've done, they're very stable. So it's a little harder to deflate them now. So we're gonna add this in increments. You don't wanna do this in your mixer. You wanna do this by hand. You wanna add about 1/4 of your flour, sugar, cornstarch mixture. And you wanna fold it in. What I mean by folding, you will cut down the middle, right to the bottom, bring it up and over. Turn your bowl, cut down the middle, take it to the bottom, up and over. And you just keep doing this until all of that 1/4 of your mixture is completely beat in. You want to be very gentle. You do not want to deflate this. This is all about the air. You do not want to deflate. And as you can see, it's all mixed in. Now I'm going to slowly and gently add in the rest of the mixture, the dry ingredients, 1/4 at a time, very slowly until we get it all incorporated, and I'll show you what that looks like when I'm there. We're going to give this one last little turn one last little fold to make sure everything is incorporated. Make sure nothing's on the bottom. You don't want any dry pockets of flour in there. And at this point, if you've done this right, and you have kept as much air as you possibly can, that's going to affect how high your cake rises. If it rises really good, then you know you kept enough air by doing it slow and steady. With this cake, slow and steady wins the race. Now, let me give you a little hint while I do this. I know 12 egg whites is a lot of egg whites to have at one time. Around here, when we have a lot of eggs, I like to make cream pies. You guys probably, if you've been with me for a while, you've probably seen the videos where I made chocolate cream pie, coconut cream pie, and butterscotch pie. Those take a lot of egg yolks, but not a lot of egg whites. So those egg yolks I put in my pies, and the egg whites I freeze in bags for later for making angel food cake. And when I get to a dozen, I thaw them out very gently. I put the bag that I have them in a little bowl of cool water, and they're thawed in a matter of a few minutes. Thawed and at room temperature in a matter of a few minutes. That way I don't have to use a whole dozen eggs at one time to do this. And now, look at this gloriousness. Look at that. See how stable that is? See how stable that is? And it's because of all those little tricks that I taught you. That's what makes it so stable. Now, for the next little trick. This is our pan. For those of you who don't know what this is an angel food cake pan. Now, you can use just a regular old tube pan. It will work just fine. If you don't have either, you can use a loaf pan, or I've even heard of people using a 13 by 9 and say that it works great. But what makes this angel food cake pan different is this. See? The center pops out. It makes it much easier to get this cake out of the pan. And it makes it much easier on cooling and everything. So, here's another trick. To get a high rise on your cake, you want to make sure, do not grease this pan. Do not grease it, do not spray it with anything, do not flour it. Leave it just like it is. Because that stickage, when it sticks to the sides, that's what's going to make it climb the sides and climb higher and higher. So now, you want to gently spoon your batter into your pan. The reason I say gently is, once again, you don't want it to deflate it. Although all those stabilizers with the cornstarch and especially that cream of tartar, that's going to make all the difference in the world in how stable this cake actually is. If you don't do those things, you're not going to have as stable of a cake. And you're not going to be able to mistreat it just a little bit. You're going to have to be a little bit more fussy over it because it's going to be delicate. It's not going to be as delicate if you do those little tricks. Because see, right now I can just rake this out of the bowl pretty quickly because it's pretty stable right now. But I just don't want to deflate the air. Because like I said, the more air you keep in here, the higher your rise. Now you want to smooth this out very gently. Be very gentle with it like I've told you. And now here's another trick. Have you ever seen angel food cake that has those big holes in it? That's because they left too big of an air pocket in there. You want to take just a regular butter knife, run it around the edge of your cake, and just run it through the middle down to the bottom. And it will bring up any of those big air bubbles that will cause that to happen. Now you want to spread it back out. But see, you did all that to keep those humongous air bubbles out. So now, just give it a little shake. Just give it a little shake to even it out in your pan. And see, now it's all even. Now you see all of these little splatters that I splattered around the edge? Be sure and clean those up because they will burn. Now we are going to pop this in to our 325 degree preheated oven till it's golden brown, and when you touch it when you just lightly press on the top, it should be springy. Because you know that perfect angel food cake texture is nice and springy. So when you barely touch the top, it should be nice and springy. I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. And another very important tip for cooling this cake that is key to the perfect angel food cake. We'll be back. Okay, while I clean up my mess, I will tell you guys this little trick. This will usually take about 40 to 45 minutes in the low oven. Like I told you, low and slow. Low and slow wins the race with this. Speedy and quick makes for a bad cake with angel food cake. So it usually takes about 40 to 45 minutes. For about the first 30 to 35 minutes, if it's at all possible, do not open that oven door, because you do not want the air to hit that cake as it's trying to stabilize even more, as it's trying to bake, because you don't want it to deflate any of that air. Which, like I told you, if you do those steps that I taught you, it's going to be way more stable. So it's going to be a little harder to deflate it. But I still highly recommend that you do not open the oven door for at least the first 30 to 35 minutes. Then after that, you can open it just a little and check it. But it usually takes about 40 to 45 minutes. Look at this beauty. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Golden brown. And see, when you push on it, it just bounces back. Don't leave fingerprints in it, it just bounces back. That's how you know it's perfect. Now, there is a very specific way that you want to cool this cake. If you have a bottle that the neck of it will fit in this hole, then you want to turn it upside down, because you want to cool this upside down. Promise you, it's not going to fall out. It's firmly stuck to this pan, and that's what you want with this cake. But you can just cool it like this. It'll be fine, but you really don't want to. It cools better if it's upside down. Now, I don't have a bottle that will fit in there, that the neck will fit in that hole. But everybody has cans of food. All you need is 3 to 4 cans of equal size. Now, you want to turn your cake very carefully, not to burn yourself, upside down on your cans. You don't want to set it so that your cake is actually sitting on the cans, so that the rim of your pan is sitting on the edge of each can. Now that we've got this turned upside down to cool, this took exactly 40 minutes. Like I told you, it could take 40 to 45 minutes. It depends on your pan and your oven. Mine took exactly 40 minutes. And I forgot to tell you when I was making this, you don't have to make this just plain. You can make a chocolate chip angel food cake, which is amazing. You can use any flavor extract you want. You can use orange zest, make an orange one. Lemon zest, make it a lemon one. Or lemon extract. Or coconut extract, which would be really good. Or you can make a chocolate angel food cake. I actually have a killer recipe for a chocolate angel food cake. If you guys want to see that, leave it in the comments below. You can do any flavor you like. But to show you how to do this and show you how easy this is, I just chose to do a regular vanilla one. Now, you want, very important, you want to leave this to cool completely. That will take an hour and a half. So you want to leave this cooling upside down for an hour and a half. I promise you, it is not going to fall out of this pan. If you did it right and you did not grease your pan, it is stuck in that pan tight. And that's what you want. I know most of the time you don't want your cakes to stick. This cake you want to stick in the pan, because that's the best way for this to cool, is upside down. So you want this to be stuck in your pan. It's not going to fall out. It's going to be stuck right there. And then we'll be back and I'll show you how to unmold it. Now, if your pan is a 2-piece pan, like mine is, where the center comes out, if you are a little afraid that that center is going to fall out while it cools, you can, now this is cooled enough that I can handle it just a little bit. You can put a can in the middle as well to support that middle. But it doesn't really need it. That's just for security if you are nervous. It's been an hour and a half and our cake is completely cool. See, I can put my hands on it very easily. Now we're going to flip it back over. See, it didn't fall out. See? I'm going to show you how to unmold this beautiful cake. Now you just want to take, once again, you just want to take a plain butter knife. You want to stick it down on the side, run it right along the edge of your cake, where your cake meets the pan. You don't want to cut in because you will cut into your cake. You want to run it right along the edge. Now you want to run it right around the middle as well, because you want to release it from the tube. Now, you should be able to pull out the middle, just like that. Now, you can see it's stuck on the middle part. Now you want to take your knife, you want to slide it just on top of your pan. You can feel where the pan's at, you can feel where the tube's at. You want to rotate it around and cut. Just slide it loose from the pan. And as you can see, it's a very sturdy cake. To be so light and airy, you will be surprised at how sturdy it is. Now, you should be able to lift it right off your tube. See? Now, see? You have a beautiful angel food cake. Did you think you could make that from scratch? It really is that easy. And you will see just how much better it is than those boxed mixes when Jason gets to try it. Now I'm going to show you the best possible way to slice an angel food cake. Because probably most people have had that time where they've tried to slice an angel food cake with a regular knife and it's just flat. Because they will just flatten. You need to use a bread knife. And see, because the way the teeth are. If you don't have a bread knife, you can just use a serrated knife. But you always want to use a serrated knife, and you want to cut it in a sawing pattern, in a sawing motion. See, you don't mash it that way. You just get clean cuts without mashing it. You want to store this at room temperature, but you want to wrap it in either plastic wrap or put a cake dome over it or something that will cover it, because it will dry out where it's been cut.
Okay, now I get the pleasure of tasting this beautiful piece of cake. Look at that. That's a hunk of cake right there, ain't it? Luckily, it's angel food cake, and it's not really heavy. What amazing cake, Ange. That's something else. Something to be proud of. It really is. You guys ought to try this one. It's delicious. Obviously, it goes well with strawberries and fruit, whipped cream, whatever. It's also really just stinking good by itself, y'all. I mean, what a great cake. Angela killed it again, obviously. So thank you guys so much for watching. We do appreciate it. Again, my name is Jason. That's Angela K. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love you guys. God bless you and goodbye.